guess you can call police indifference or police dereliction of duty or police just not giving a fuck about public safety and serving the community. I think that is justifiable as a trigger warning for some form of police brutality. Would you guys agree or disagree? Also trigger warning um for violence and murder against trans women, particularly black trans women. And if you guys, and I'm sure several of you do, because I know we've got some real news hounds in the fire fam. Like we got some news hounds in the fire fam. Like y'all be on it hard. And every now and again, thank you so much, Steve. Steve just ran us a super chat and said, "Keep up the good work." Thank you so much, Steve. We appreciate it. With that kind of support, we absolutely will. Um, but periodically, every few months, I'll see stories, not even so much stories. There'll usually be posts on social media, and it will be a collage of faces, usually black faces, black women's faces, and black trans women's faces. And it'll come from towns like Columbus, Ohio, or it'll come out of places like North and Central Florida or in Chicago. And in this case, in Shreveport, Louisiana, where you'll have a cluster of either missing and murdered black women, cisgender women, and trans women. And in Shreveport, the local news channel there, KSLA, did a story. They did a story about the unsolved homicides of 5 black trans women in Shreveport and how the families of at least one of those murder victims is speaking out publicly about the inaction, the lack of progress, and the seeming indifference coming from the Shreveport Police Department as it pertains to these open homicides. And y'all know me, you know, am- all Black Lives Matter, period, point blank. And I don't think that the names and stories, particularly of black trans women, those, by the way, out of all women, black trans women, out of all women, all black women, I should say, here in the US, black trans women, I believe, have the lowest life expectancy. I believe that is it's ridiculously low. If you guys know it, I think it's 34 years old is the life expectancy for black trans women, and they are at an exponential risk, elevated risk of dying by murder. And one of the mothers of these murder victims in Shreveport sat down and gave a good interview. And the package is not the greatest, but I think content wise, what it's communicating, what it is putting out there, the names, faces, and stories of these black trans women specifically, like they get ignored far too often. And I was appreciative that in the Bible Belt, that a story like this actually got told by the local news. So let's take a look. It's a few minutes long, y'all. So chill out, get comfy, and check out this package from KSLA.
Only God knows how I'm feeling.
That is Benita Smith, a grief-stricken mother, painfully sharing her heartbreak and frustration over the way she says police are handling the investigation, the homicide investigation of her daughter, Brooklyn Smith, who is transgender. Murdered 2 years ago, Brooklyn's death remains unsolved, and she's not alone. Her case is one of 5 homicides of transgenders where Shreveport police have yet to make an arrest. And as Smith tells Chief Investigative Reporter Stacey Cameron, she believes Brooklyn's gender identity is one reason SPD isn't working harder to catch a killer.
Early afternoon, October 7th, 2020. Shreveport police are at this west side apartment complex
When I arrived, I couldn't go near the apartment.
when Benita Smith gets word her transgender daughter, Brooklyn Smith, is dead.
My baby was shot in the right side of her head.
Shot 3 times and left to die in the bedroom of her upstairs apartment.
Why? Why?
Inside the apartment, a police report says officers find signs of foul play. And according to Bonita,
They hurt my baby. They took my best friend. They scandalized my baby like piece of trash.
Brooklyn's body is already decomposing. And based on details investigators shared with her,
The door wasn't kicked in or nothing. They was already in there.
Bonita says Brooklyn likely knew her killer.
I know sometimes I get in my moods and I want to be alone.
And that's important because in the months before the murder,
Brooklyn helped pay bills, helping with their kids.
Bonita claims Brooklyn was giving money to a family member and her boyfriend. But when Bonita supposedly told police about the couple,
I gave you leads.
she says the detective working Brooklyn's homicide didn't seem interested in following the lead. Now, 26 months after the murder,
If he only knew how I felt, how I really felt.
Bonita says Brooklyn's detective has stopped taking her calls.
I feel like they don't want to solve my baby because he was transgender.
Turns out Brooklyn's unsolved murder isn't an isolated case in Shreveport. She's one of 5 open cases where the murder victim was either transgender or cross-dressed, and police haven't caught the killer. The first, Valerie Jock McKinney, was shot dead in July of 2013 and found lying in the middle of Kennedy Drive near the Clear Horizons apartments. 2 months later, in September of 2013, Terry Golston was shot and killed while hanging out near the intersection of Abbey Street and Pierre Avenue. Fast forward 5 years to August 2018, Vontasia Bell is shot and left dead on the side of Harrison Street in Cedar Grove. 2 years later comes the October 2020 shooting death of Brooklyn Smith in her West Side apartment on Bernstein Avenue. And finally, in August 2021, Brennan Pooh Johnson was shot multiple times and found dead in a car on West 74th Street.
It's frightening that so many of these crimes remain unsolved. It's frightening because it shows where there are gaps and things that need to be addressed in how the police are investigating the deaths of trans people.
Tori Cooper is part of the Transgender Justice Initiative at the Human Rights Campaign. She says one of her fears with these open cases
Trans people are not out here killing trans people in the streets.
is victim demographics. Each person murdered was African American. They all identified or dressed as females, and 3 victims were 25 years old or younger.
What you just described is intersectionality.
And according to Cooper, the intersection between minority demographics and sexual orientation increases the likelihood of police prejudice against the victim, especially in the South.
I will make sure to reinforce that I am a fan of the police. But with that being said, police officers are also human beings. And as human beings, all of us bring our own biases into work.
Cooper says bias most often appears when homicide investigators refuse to identify a transgender victim by their street name and chosen gender.
Then suddenly what you're doing as a police officer, as an investigator, you are not telling the full story.
So police, by failing to ask questions using the name the transgender person goes by, they may be losing leads, they may be losing suspects, they may be losing vital information on a case they could possibly solve.
I think it's fair to leave the word may out of it.
I wanted to speak with SPD about the 5 open transgender homicides, but my request for an interview was denied. But in a statement, the department said, our investigators work all cases with compassion for their victims and their families and friends, regardless of their gender identity, gender, or sexual preference. This comes as violence against transgender people is on the rise. Over the past decade, the Human Rights Campaign has documented 256 transgender homicides in the U.S., 19 murders happening in Louisiana, and that includes the 5 open transgender homicides here in Shreveport and 1 in Bossier City.
It's hard. It's been hard. It's been real, real hard. But I've been holding on by the grace of God because I have to.
Following the murder, Bonita laid Brooklyn to rest in a small Shreveport cemetery. But for this grieving mother,
That was my best friend. That was my best friend.
peace is hard to find because Brooklyn's killer remains free and Bonita feels police let the case go cold.
My heart is racing. I'm holding back a lot of tears.
But she's not giving up hope, believing God will give her the strength to carry on.
I'm gonna fight till the end, to my last breath, for my justice for my baby.
That's Stacey Cameron reporting. Brooklyn was just 20 years old at the time of her death. As of tonight, Caddo Shreveport Crime Stoppers offering a reward of up to $2,000 for anyone providing information to detectives leading to the arrest and indictment of Brooklyn's killer. You can leave an anonymous tip by going online to the website or just call the number you see here. As always, it's 673-7373.
My first thought is defund the police, abolish the police. My second thought is Brooklyn's mom nailed it right on the head. She said the police are not investigating her daughter's murder is because of her daughter's demographic, and she's right. She's right. Now, my memory short term is not all that great, but listening to the reporter there run down those 5 open murder cases of Black trans women in Shreveport, were all of them shot? I mean, that sounds like a modus operandi, right? It doesn't. If my memory's recollection is correct, they sound like they were all killed the same way. Now, again, I'm not a criminologist. You know, I just watch shamefacedly a lot of Law and Order. I'm very ashamed to say that, but it does sound like perhaps it is one person doing these killings. If all of them were shot, I'm curious. And again, the police are not very forthcoming with a lot of the details because these are still open cases. But hey, it don't sound as though they're doing a very good job of closing these cases. And again, there were several things in that package that jumped out. Again, I was glad to even see the story be reported upon. But there were some problems with it. The lady from the Human Rights Campaign, I was very disappointed to see that Black trans woman sit up there and say that, I'm a fan of the police, but, the police are human beings. They bring their biases to work. Well, why do all of us have to taxpayer fund the police's biases? Like, police have to be better. And I understand the foundations and the origins of American policing denotes that it can never be better, which is why they must be defunded and abolished, right? But nah, dog. No. The people who have so much say and power over the direction of a lot of people's everyday lives at the police discretion, if they so choose to hem up people, or for the people that they don't hem up. In this case, this murderer or murderers that are killing Black trans women in Shreveport. Like, for the police not to be doing their job based on their biases, people die as a result. They are supposed to be the upholders, the guardians of public safety. And when they show themselves incapable or unwilling to do their job, i.e., find killers, i.e., track down leads, can you believe that homicide detective is refusing to take Brooklyn's mother's phone calls anymore? Like, just refusing to take her calls. Like, refusing to call her back, refusing to call back the family member of a murder victim. The fucking audacity. I need to know the race. I need to know the races of these police. Because I know in Louisiana, shit, it could very easily be a lot of Black police sitting on these particular police departments, not doing shit, not solving shit. It don't have to be white cops not solving shit. It could totally be Black cops down there not solving shit, not investigating shit. It sounds as though there's a serial predator loose in Shreveport, and the police are just content to let that those individual or that individuals continue to run amok because of who they're killing. Listen, guys, we have to make sure that Black trans lives are counted. We have to make sure that they are valued. We have to make sure that they are protected. And because Black trans women are women, and I hate to say this and hear this, but they are, this case and this situation happening in Shreveport is eerily reminiscent of a case that we talked about here not that long ago in Kansas City, where the young lady was able to escape the clutches of a person, of a known white supremacist. And the young woman made the assertion that he had killed two others before she made her escape. And people in the community in Kansas City were trying to tell the police for a very long time that Black women were going missing. Was it from 85th and Prospect in Kansas City? The cops gaslit the community, called them liars, saying it was rumors. You can get away with a lot of shit in Black communities, yo. That's why we need community control, either community control of the police, or we need a whole nother separate faction of folks that have the ability to investigate and yoke people to fuck up. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. Like, there is enough people out here that are internet sleuths, crime sleuths. You feel me? Like, there's a lot of people willing to go do investigative work that the police should be doing. Shit, we should let them do it. We should let them do it. Shit, we should fund them. If we have people among us that are good at research and want to do this shit, there's regular ass people solving cold cases across this country every single day that the cops can't or won't do. And maybe we should start redirecting some of our public funds to those individuals because they seem to be making progress and they seem to be actually getting the job done out here. I'm just so tired. I'm just exhausted. I'm exhausted from police, from their ineptitude, from their incompetence, and their just outright racism, their transphobia, their misogyny. I'm just over it. We need some new niggas for these police lights to follow. Because why they following us? It's too dark to see tomorrow. Anyway, we want to send a lot of love to the trans community, period, but specifically to the Black trans community. I know that the Black community at large gives y'all a lot of shit, and they don't support and they don't care. But please know that there are a few of us out here that care. We do care. We do love our LGBTQ brothers and sisters and non-binary folks. We care about y'all. And like I heard one trans sister say before, solidarity is cute, but we need action. So I was gonna say start snitching. if you suspect that there is a predator, seriously, if you suspect that there's a predator in your community attacking women, period, maybe start snitching. But it don't even matter if you snitch because the cops might not even take your fucking phone call. Adios mio. So we love the Black trans community. All Black lives matter. Black lives matter. All Black lives matter. Black trans lives absolutely do matter.